Hello, hello, folks. Great to have you along. Glad you're with us today. Get to start moving on to figuring out how we are actually moving in the markets. But that's how we'll get started here in a moment. Let's first get everybody on board. We've got Nicole with us. Fantastic. She can see and hear me. That's great. Shalise, yeah, we missed you last Thursday. Totally. You know what? So Shalise, I get it. I'm taking an evening class on Tuesdays and Thursdays, so I'm in school as well. And I'll tell you what, I finally had to set an alarm the first few weeks because there was a week or two that I totally spaced it and forgot. So I set an alarm now because, yeah, it happens to all of us. All right, so let's all do this. So what are we talking about today? Well, we're talking about actually entering foreign markets. All right, all of you will need to enter the market somehow or another. And what we're going to talk about today is actually how to do this, right? Now, you know some of them. Let's take export, for example. Export, incidentally, is going to be the last one we talk about. And furthermore, we're going to go into way more depth on it on Thursday because export is the biggest and kind of, most common, but there's a lot of complication to it. So we're going to go in depth on that one. But export is just one way to enter a foreign market. We are actually going to talk about 7 different ways. And so as we go through this lecture today, you'll want to ask yourself, how am I entering the market? What sort of modality am I using? Okay, so let's get started. Let's do it. First, and I should have fixed this slide. It's all messed up. We've already done this. What market should we enter? When's the best time to enter it? To what degree should we enter it? So you guys, we've already explored all this. Should we move in early to capture the market right away so that we're the first ones there? That's really cool because then there's no competition and we kind of dominate the market. But on the other hand, you got to spend a lot of money and invest a lot of yourself to get it off the ground there, and there's no guarantee of success. Whereas if you come in late, well, yeah, okay, so now you're just an itty-bitty player with lots of other people in that market. Yeah, but there's a playbook, and I know how to be successful because other people have already built the roads and all the infrastructure necessary to be successful. We've talked about that. We've also talked about, hey, do you want to go in big or go in small, right? Are you going to go all in and just, bet the whole farm on this one market? Or are you going to just kind of dabble in it, right? Let's just do a little bit to kind of see how it goes. And if it goes well, and as we learn our lessons and make our mistakes, then we can up the ante every once in a while. Okay. Well, with that, let's talk about different ways that we can enter the market, having already discussed all these things. We're going to talk about turnkey, licensing, franchise, joint venture, wholly owned subsidiaries, direct, foreign direct investment, and exporting. All right? So, let the roller coaster ride begin. And I didn't fix this. Oh, I apologize, folks. So let's talk turnkey, okay? Turnkey is this. It's really interesting. There's a company out there that will just build the business for you. And I don't mean just build the building, right? I mean get all the licenses, get all the permits, hire the employees, get the payroll set up. I mean everything. So the idea is this company, and this company right here, Turnkey Construction, they are the construction company who does turnkey operations for 7-Eleven. So if you want to start a 7-Eleven franchise, you go to Turnkey Construction. And you say, I want that. I want to build a franchise. And they go, we got you covered. So they go, they get the permits, they get the business license, they build the building, they outfit it with all the equipment, all the gear. They set up the distribution and supply channels with, middle market. They get all the food in there. They get all the supplies. They get gasoline in the tanks. They hire the employees. They train the employees. And then at some point, they walk over to you, hand you the keys, and say, here's your business. And you're in business. That's a turnkey. Yeah, Shalice, sounds really nice, right? And you know what? And gosh, I really apologize. I must have pulled up the wrong, let's see, discard. I'm going to make a few little changes here so we can read these things. Okay? You'll have to bear with me as I do this. I really apologize. It is really nice, right? There's a lot of pluses to it. They take care of everything. And they know the terrain, they know the businesses, they know it all. So, yeah, it's pretty sweet. Here's the thing though, is without realizing it, you might create a competitor. This turnkey operation company could say, you know what? We can build these things, and instead of 7-Eleven, let's make 910s, right? And we're going to go ahead and start competing with 7-Eleven. Or another drawback is, let's say that you have some proprietary information that makes you uniquely competitive, a secret sauce, right? Well, if you have a secret sauce and you have to set up your equipment and train your employees in a certain way, well, you have to share this information with the turnkey company. You may not want to do it. But hey, if all you're doing is throwing together convenience shops, yeah, pretty nice. Okay? All right. So, once again, Lon didn't prepare properly. We're going to go ahead and move this bad boy down here just to get it out of the way. Then we've got licensing. Okay, so I know one of you is doing licensing. Basically, this is when a company allows a foreign entity, the licensee, the right to produce and sell its product in exchange for a royalty. All right? So all these pictures that you can't see, Ralph Lauren, Hasbro, Procter & Gamble, Mattel, Warner Brothers, Walt Disney, these companies all make their money by licensing. They just tell any company who's willing to pay for the license and pay royalties, yeah, sure, you can make stuff and boom, stamp our logo on it. Or make stuff to our specifications and so forth. Not bad. And if you're making cakes, right, okay, then this works fantastic. Thing is, it's kind of hard to maintain quality control, right? That's kind of a concern. You're concerned about what your logo is put on, so you have to really keep a close eye on all that, because what you're essentially selling is your brand. And if anybody misuses that brand, that affects the value of your brand. So you got to kind of watch that stuff. But if you have a recipe and you want to license it out to folks, that's a great way to enter the market. All right. Now, another way is a franchise. You can set up franchises out in the market, or you can buy a franchise out in this foreign market. Franchising, specialized form of licensing in which the franchisor sells intangibles and tangible property to the franchisee and insists on rules and to conduct business. Okay, so IKEA is a franchise, right? And as well as 7-Eleven and so forth. Franchises are great. It's basically you're buying a company without buying a whole company, and you get to be your own boss? Here's the thing, not necessarily. Remember, it says right here, the franchise insists on rules of conduct in conducting business. Companies who franchise, they can be pretty draconian about how you run your franchise. So a good friend of mine and business partner, she used to own a Cold Stone franchise. And on one hand, it felt like you were on your own, you were your own boss because you had the building, you had all this product, and you decided how to run it, so on and so forth. But Cold Stone had such strict rules about what you could sell, how you could sell it, how you set it up, and so forth, that ultimately it did not feel to her like she was her own business owner. Nevertheless, it can be a great way to enter a foreign market, to just go in, buy a franchise, and set yourself up that way. Okay? So, joint venture. All right? Joint venture, and I'm going to go ahead and move this for a moment so that we can see. A joint venture is basically when two companies get together and start a third company. Now, the two companies don't disappear, they still exist, but they've created a third company together. So, for example, Intel and Micron got together to start IM Flash Technology. They're out in Lehigh, so you may have heard of IM Flash Technology. That's an example of a joint venture. My puppies are freaking out. On the other hand, for international, General Motors got together with SAIC Motors in China, and they started a joint venture, SAIC GM Wuling. Okay, here's the idea. General Motors really wanted to get into China. China says, you're not allowed to just come in here and start up shop. You need to partner with a Chinese company. So General Motors said, great, I'll get together with SAIC, and together they started this joint venture. That way, everybody benefited. So in some cases, such as China, you're required to set up a joint venture so that the Chinese government and Chinese economy can benefit from this as well. Shalise says, would my friend and I that have our own separate businesses all going to do a workshop and challenge together? Okay, if you and your friends start a third business, that is a joint venture, yes. But if your friend's business and your business still exists separately, then you're doing a joint venture. However, Shalise, to your point, you could be doing, let me just find out. You could be doing something like a joint, okay, oh gosh, it's going to come to me because we have a slide. You don't have to have a wholly owned subsidiary. There are cases where you can just do something together and not it be a joint venture. But yeah, that's a good example. And so because it's a good example, and I'm going to bring that back, we got contributors of an example, and that's a real world example. Very good. Very good. Okay. Wholly owned subsidiary. This is when you just go out and buy a company out there, right? So Shalise, you have a company here. If you were to go out to South Africa and just buy a company outright and you and your company own it, then that becomes a wholly owned subsidiary. This is how companies like eBay and Google and Amazon and these big companies, this is how they grow so stinking big and fast, is they just gobble up other companies and they become wholly owned subsidiaries. In fact, Google is now a wholly owned subsidiary of a company they created called ABC, I think it is, right? So this is how big companies grow very big, very fast. They just buy up others. On the other hand, we can also have acquisition, right? We can acquire a company. Now, the question is, do you go with a greenfield site or a brownfield site? Let me explain. Greenfield is when a company builds a whole new facility from the ground up. Greenfield meaning it's green and lush and virgin. All right, so you just go out to some empty land and you build a factory or you build a facility. So when Intel went to Malaysia, that was Intel's first international foray. They built a site in Malaysia that was a greenfield site. Okay. Here's some information about them. We're not going to worry about that. Now, a brownfield site, by the way, is when you just buy the company outright, such as I was saying, if Shalice went to South Africa and just bought a company outright, that's brownfield because the building's already there. Brown meaning the parking lot, right? So are you going to build a whole new building and so forth, or are you going to buy one that's already there? It's a great way to gain market value right away, you know, get into a market quickly, acquire knowledge, avoid the cost of producing new products and so forth. So that's why a lot of tech companies and big companies do this kind of acquisition, because it allows them to get into the market really, really, really fast. Okay. All right. Thing is, it's kind of an interesting thing. I have seen discard. I'm going to move that right over there, and then we'll bring it back up. Companies start to think that they're pretty darn good and everything they touch turns to gold. It's not the case. There's something called management hubris. And hubris basically says when top management overestimate their ability to create value from an acquisition. So a lot of companies, big companies, will just go out and gobble up every single company they can find. It allows them to get the knowledge. It allows them to enter the market. It allows them to make sure that new competitors don't grow up, right? To some degree, this is legal. Sometimes it's sketchy. But oftentimes they'll end up losing money and they'll spin off the company and so forth. So it's just something to bear in mind. Don't go off and just buy a company and acquire them because you think, oh, I can totally make money with it. Not something I'm worried about with your projects. Okay. Then you can do foreign direct investment. Okay. Foreign direct investment is when a company invests directly into building facilities to produce or market product in a foreign country. Again, this can be greenfield or brownfield. Greenfield meaning you build it. Brownfield meaning you buy the building, right? Foreign direct investment goes both ways. So, for example, if you drive a Toyota or a Honda or some foreign car, odds are it was built here in the United States because these auto manufacturers have built up manufacturing sites here in the United States so that they can build cars to sell to us. That's an example of foreign direct investment coming our direction. Okay. Utah, we are best state in business for foreign direct investment. Interesting. So you might want to Google that article. Kind of fun. Okay. We're not going to worry about that. I think what I'm going to do, because I did not properly prepare these slides, is I'm going to send out some information on these. Okay. On some of the foreign direct investment, but don't worry, not on the tests, not germane to your project. So I would not be passing over anything that didn't matter to your project. Hey, Victor, great to have you. There's a lot of material and websites that I've sent you, remember, in that pestle analysis that'll show you where to invest and so forth. This is an interesting article from U.S. News and World Report talking about the best countries to invest in. I believe I included that in the pestle analysis. If not, you can Google this and you can pull it up. It basically talks about what is the, country attractiveness. Remember, we talked about country attractiveness in an earlier lecture. What are the laws, rules, and regulations? Is there a free market? Can you own this stuff outright? Are there, legal avenues to make sure that the contracts are in place and that are upheld? So these are things that you consider when you decide whether or not to do foreign direct investment. Okay, now that's a run through. I apologize. I did not do a good job in setting up these slides. I did on another computer, and it's not until I started the lecture that I realized that I had the wrong presentation. So I apologize for that. I'm going to send out some additional material to make sure that you have the things that are necessary for your particular projects. But I believe that for your particular projects, what you are looking at is, I know some of you are doing licensing. I know that some of you are using existing distribution channels such as like Amazon and so forth, which is a form of licensing because you are licensing your material to Amazon, who then sells it and they give you a cut, royalties. You're getting royalties for your work. See how that works? Okay. And I believe some of you are looking at importing, exporting. When we come back on Thursday, and I'm going to make sure that I'm better prepared for that, we are going to go into more depth on exporting, okay? But that said, we have a few of you with us. We have Nicole, we have Shalise, we have Victor. Tell me which one you think you're going to be using. So Shalise, we talked about yours. So hopefully you caught it there. Tell me what way you're going to be entering the market. So while you're kind of figuring out what way you're entering the market, we're going to come over here to a puppy cam real quick. As you can see, the puppies are getting restless. I need to pull them out there, right? Okay, yeah, you guys nailed it. So Shalise, you're going through Amazon, which means you're going to be using licensing, okay? The fact that Amazon pays you royalties on your book shows that you have licensed the right to print your book and sell it to Amazon, and they give you royalties. Okay? So you're not printing it, you're not selling it, they're printing it and selling it, but you gave them that right. You licensed the right to print it and sell it to them. So you're licensing. Nicole, yeah, you're going to be using licensing as well. Absolutely. You're going to be setting your app up. I think it's an app you're doing. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think you're the one doing the app. You're going to be setting your app up on different distribution channels. They will be then selling it, and they will be paying you a royalty for each one that they sell. So yes, you're entering through licensing. Okay, very good. Okay, Nicole, you're the one doing the recipe. Okay, thank you. Ash is doing the app. Same thing though, right? You're going to be licensing, but you're going to be paying them the right to make and sell their cakes, their pies, their cakes. And so you're going to, bake it, you're going to brand it, you're going to sell it, and for each one you sell, you give them the royalties. I apologize, Nicole. You're right. You're the cake one. Okay. So very good. All you need to do is include a section in your paper saying how you're going to enter the market, the pros and cons. I will send out some information that will have the pros and cons, since I did not go over them well in the lecture because the presentation was messed up. So I'll take care of that. I'm definitely going to make sure I get the licensing one done because that's what most of you are doing. Okay? So, any questions on that? And once again, my apologies. Any question on how licensing will work and what you need to do to include it in your paper? If so, write them up there. I'm going to stay online so I can answer the questions. Otherwise, have a fantastic day. We'll come back on Thursday, pick it up with exporting and probably a little bit more on licensing, so we make sure we cover our bases there, and we'll be all set. All right? Have a fantastic day.